We used to think that people in ancient times were not very smart and skillful and for centuries used the same things without inventing anything new. However, if you delve into history, you understand how brilliant our ancestors were, because what is familiar to us now, they had to create from scratch, having practically no theoretical basis. And sometimes they created such complex or so useful things that even a modern educated person will say, wow. Here are a few artifacts from the ancient world that have survived to this day and are surprising. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. Prehistoric river monster teeth. Archaeologists at the University of Portsmouth have discovered more than 1,000 Spinosaurus teeth in Morocco. They claim that the fossil remains are over 100 million years old. The find turned out to be very important as it proves that Spinosaurus lived in water, not on land. The thing is that the remains of a prehistoric animal were found in the bed of a Moroccan river, which dried up many centuries ago. According to scientists, in those distant times, the Sahara Desert looked completely different. In addition to numerous waterways, it was covered with dense vegetation. The desert climate was also different from the modern one. High humidity and the absence of severe cold weather created its own ecosystem here. Spinosaurs, whose teeth were found by archaeologists, occupied a central place in it. In any case, it is their remains that scientists find most often. Scientists who conducted the research said that the Spinosaurs died right in the river, so their fossilized bones should be looked for in dried up beds. The remains of other types of dinosaurs which were interested in the river only as a source of water, in the overwhelming majority of cases are found on land. It is because of this that the experts concluded the aquatic lifestyle of the Spinosaurus. Cave bear found in Siberia. Russian scientists have discovered perfectly preserved remains of a cave bear and a bear cub, whose age is 39,000 years. Prior to this case, paleontologists found only the bones of cave bears aged from 300 to 15,000 years. The discovery of the intact carcasses of two animals has already been called a worldwide discovery. Both carcasses were found in permafrost, which perfectly preserved animal tissue. Now Russian scientists who are already solving the problem of cloning a mammoth will have the opportunity to isolate DNA and start cloning cave bears. This is the first and only case of the discovery of a carcass of an adult animal with a fully preserved skeleton and soft tissues. It survived in its entirety, together with internal organs. Previously, only skulls and bones were found. This find is of great importance for the whole world. Scientists from Yakutsk will certainly invite foreign colleagues to participate in the study. It is necessary to conduct radiocarbon analysis to determine the exact age of the remains. Now scientists estimate it in the range from 22 to 39,500 years. In addition, scientists say the discovery of a bear cub's carcass could help them learn more about the process of raising cubs for cave bears. Ancient pool in the vicinity of Rome. The pool, 48 meters long and 12 meters wide, was discovered during compulsory archaeological research at the site of the future construction. The external walls of the pool are made of tough blocks. An inclined ramp connected it to the street of the same time. The pool was clearly not part of the traditional Roman bath. There is no mention of it in written sources. The most plausible hypothesis for its use is that the basin was part of the water management system and played the role of a reservoir for water. There was also the possibility that it was used in agriculture. Scientists do not exclude possible ritual functions. The 2-hectare site around the pool is replete with remnants of buildings and artifacts that have accumulated over 8 centuries, dating back to the 5th century BC. At that time, this place was a busy crossroads on the way from Rome to its first colony, the seaport of Ostia. It is hoped that the items found will help clarify the purpose of the pool. Of particular value is a wooden fragment found at the bottom of the pool. An inscription in the Etruscan language has been preserved on it. The excavations in all their grandeur reveal this important site, which has been inhabited for more than 8 centuries, as evidenced by the number and, above all, the quality of the structures discovered, such as the monumental pool of the 4th century BC found in its entirety. An in-depth study of a large number of materials that this study returned to us and continues to return. Wood, terracotta, metal objects, inscriptions will reveal the secrets of this unusual corner of Greater Rome. extraterrestrial sarcophaguses from the underground temple. Not far from Giza, archaeologists have discovered a mysterious ancient burial. The burial was found 12 miles from the Great Pyramids at Giza. It consists of 24 sarcophaguses weighing 100 tons. Scientists know that cutting on hard aswan granite is done very efficiently, with an accuracy of microns. They found 24 boxes made of granite, have a length about 4 meters, a width of little over 2 meters, and a height of a little less than 3.5 meters. The weight of each, according to a rough estimate, is not less than 65 tons, and together with the lid, it is about 100 tons. These boxes are set inside crypts carved into the limestone rock. It is not clear who and how placed the sarcophaguses weighing 100 tons in the crypts in a confined space. It would take hundreds of slaves to transport them, but it is impossible to place these slaves next to the crypt niche. Without the help of special mechanisms and machines, they cannot be placed. Some of the sarcophaguses are in a very narrow side niche where a maximum of 20 people can fit and more. The floor of the niche is 1.5 meters below the floor level of the main corridor. That is, the sarcophagus had not to be only somehow dragged into a niche, but also carefully lowered to the very same 1.5 meters down without breaking. The discovery of strange granite boxes raised a number of questions among scientists, to which there is still no clear answer. The walls of the granite boxes are perfectly fitted and polished both outside and inside. These boxes are made to the highest level of modern space technology. The ancient Egyptians simply could not have the technology to make these structures. The inner part of the sarcophagus is also affected. Its walls are perfectly polished here too. How were such internal corners made? The lids to the side walls of the sarcophagus fit perfectly, without the slightest gaps of deviations, and the surface polish is just mirror-like. Egyptologists have put forward a version that the boxes found are nothing more than the sarcophaguses from the burial of sacred bulls and were made by the Egyptians by hand. The world-famous Swiss writer and ufologist Erich von Däniken suggested that the sarcophaguses were made to bury the remains of monsters that were filled with bitumen. There is evidence that in the 19th century, the French archaeologist Auguste Mariette really discovered bitumen and bones of various animals in the sarcophagus, from scorpions to wolves. Däniken put forward his version on the basis of ancient texts, which said the hybrid deities do not revive. According to the text, these hybrids were created by gods. People humiliated them, but were afraid to touch them. After the disappearance of the gods, the hybrids died of natural causes. Ostensibly, for the burial of their remains, sarcophaguses were made. Brainless man. The scientific world was shocked by a sensation that could become the loudest at the beginning of the 21st century. We are talking about a new kind of man, Homo naledi. His remains were found in a cave near Johannesburg. This creature amazed anthropologists. Ancient man is as if assembled from parts of two constructors. One belongs to the Australopithecines who lived about 2 million years ago, the other to the erect Homo erectus who lived on Earth about 1.5 million years ago. And the feet are the same as those of modern humans. The brain is almost as small as that of the Australopithecus. By the way, that's why the scientist Lee Berger, who found him, called him Brainless. Homo naledi immediately hit the 2015 Science Achievement Chart, but the main intrigue remains. How old is he? If he lived about 3 million years ago, then his unusual features reflect the variety of paths that evolution took in the era of the emergence of the genus Homo. And then it can be built into the evolutionary tree. But if the bones are much younger, then this can confuse scientists. How was this young creature able to preserve the primitive features of its ancestors who lived several million years ago? By the way, most scientists were inclined to date in millions of years. And now the date is announced. It sounded like a thunderbolt from the clear anthropological sky. Homo naledi existed about 253,000 years ago. Several modern dating methods converged on this figure at once, though the error is practically out of the question. It turns out that these strange creatures, with signs of Australopithecus, roamed the earth at the same time as people who had practically modern brains. Jade Kong. all people of the world created objects for rituals, but few of them have survived to this day. One of the most amazing artifacts is the Jade Kong, created by the Neolithic Liangzhu culture around 33-22 centuries BC. In the Chinese province of Jiangsu, researchers have discovered several objects with a circular internal shape and a square external cross-section. Their purpose is not known for certain, but the manufacturing itself is surprising in them. The fact is that they are made of jade, which is very difficult to process, and it was simply impossible to split it with the tools available at that time. In order to make such an artifact, its creators had to process the stone with hard abrasive sand, which would require not only innovative solutions, but also the semblance of a sandblaster. 12 tons of crocodile. Modern caimans, albeit now formidable predators, are a resounding echo of the past greatness of their ancestors. Plesiosaurs, 12 meters long, several tons in weight and bite, whose strength is in the top 5 of the strongest, reminded the inhabitants of prehistoric South America of the greatness of the reptile giants that had sunk into oblivion. The remains of a pangolin from the Purus River in Brazil were accidentally discovered by a botanist who should have buried them back immediately. The scientists dug up a massive and wide lower jaw, approximately 1.5 meters long. For comparison, a bitten by a combat crocodile, the modern record holder among green-toothed creatures, stretches in half. The wide and massive jaw looked like it had fallen off the skull of some large dinosaur. The essence of the crocodile was given only by the special structure of some bones, as well as white and blunt teeth, arranged so as not to fall apart when bitten by the terrifying power for which all crocodiles are famous. By the way, even here the river monster famously bypassed its fellows. Its heroic bite squeezed the prey with a force of 178,000 newtons. And now for the best part. Scientists characterize the skull of crocodile as small in relation to body size. The body itself was in no way less than 10 meters long, and according to some estimates, it even passed 15 meters and weighed up to 12 tons. Naturally, with such a size, hunting for small fish is pointless, so the Plesiosaurs chewed Astrophotheria, ungulate cuties the size of a rhinoceros that roamed South America in abundance 10 million years ago. In addition, it seems that he occasionally used other smaller crocodiles for the mince. Still, they simply did not have a chance against such a monster. It seems, like many other titans, the ruler of the rivers of South America was cut down by their own dimensions. As soon as the food base died out, the caiman itself went on an indefinite vacation 8 million years ago. Gold Byzantine and Arabic coins. During archaeological excavations in Phainagoria, coins were found by the Byzantine emperors Justinian I, Basil I the Macedonian, and Nicephorus III Wattianites, as well as the Baghdad Caliph al-Mahdi. The finds of the Byzantine solidae and Arab dirhams confirmed that Phainagoria remained a point of transit trade between the steppe Khazaria, the Caucasus, the Middle East, Byzantium, and ancient Rus until the beginning of the 2nd millennium. Some of the coins were trimmed at the edges. A similar fraudulent practice was common in the Byzantine Empire. Phainagoria, part of the Khazar Khaganate, remained one of the most important crossroads of the southern trade routes. Byzantine, Arab, and Old Russian money from Phainagoria, and the settlements connected with it by roads along which transit trade went, indicate active trade on the Taman Peninsula up to the 11th century. Old kettle in the garage. A resident of England decided to disassemble his garage and throw out all unnecessary trash. In the process, he came across a kettle, which appeared in the family a long time ago and was considered lost after the death of his parents. At first, the man decided to take the item to a charity store, but then changed his mind. As a result, he gave it to experts, who established that the item was made in China in the 18th century. Therefore, it may be of great interest to collectors. Therefore, the lot was immediately put up for auction with a starting price tag of £20,000. True, the experience of past years shows that such rarity may well bring the lucky one 5 times more. The man noted that the kettle was brought by his grandfather, who fought in the Far East during the Second World War. The royal game of cheers. board games in our time do not surprise anyone, but the ancient specimens amaze the imagination. The King's Game of Cheers, which is also known as the Game of 20 Squares, is one of the most ancient two-player board games. It appeared in Mesopotamia around the middle of the 3rd millennium BC and was very popular in the Middle East. The goal of the game was to move 7 of its pieces to the other end by throwing tetrahedral dice, and the gameplay was based not only on strategic thinking but also on luck. Considering that the game was invented about 4,500 years ago, and even now it looks quite modern, it's hard to believe that it was not published by some games workshop. The video has come to an end. On our channel have gathered more than 100 videos on the topic of archaeology, ancient finds, and the history of our ancestors. Therefore, I highly recommend that you watch our other videos, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone!